Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Danganronpa. I'm probably going to mispronounce quite a lot of the game in general. So what will probably mispronounce the title of the game. I think it's Danganronpa, but I could also see myself accidentally saying Danganronpa. Let's see. So there's a TV. The school is funded by national government, so that's the same prompt we saw before in the last thing we absorbed. The surveillance cameras have what looks like a gun attached to it, but there's no way that's a real gun, right? Of course, in Japan, we assume this is set in Japan. That would guns are extremely rare. So they said to pay attention to every conversation, and I think that's true in most visual novels. Like, there's probably very few made for the Asian country visual novels or made in Japan visual novels where you can not pay attention. There are a decent number of Western visual novels that are like 30 minutes long where you could probably not pay too much attention to it. If anything, it would be kind of funny if there was a game where you didn't have to pay attention to it, but I don't know what the point there would be. It looks like the kind of thing you'd see in a secret military base or something. This is the main hall I was in before, right? The door definitely wasn't here then, though. Yep. So the assumption here is this kinda doesn't look like the same main hall because the columns are missing or just not being animated, and something weird is up. We walked through the main hall and now we're in this completely different world. A mailbox, there's nothing inside. Alright, so let's then just start with each character. Here we have KIYOTAKA ISHIMARU. Now, on Japanese names, I assume we would be referring to people by their last name first. So it would be Ishimaru-san, basically. But maybe in the localization they've translated that back, and this is actually Kiyotaka-san. Since we're in English and since they're not doing the honorifics anyways, let's just go with the first names. That'll probably be easiest. And we're just going to talk to each of these as quickly as possible to get a general idea of who these people are.
I'm KIYOTAKA ISHIMARU. I believe in bold simplicity. Let's work together on our educational crusade.
So, here's a ultimate I don't know student. I don't know what his rule is. He seems very, very intense to say the least. Ultimate rule keeper, ultimate class president, or what. It's questionable what kind of class president you'd even need or want with a group of other ultimates. Putting a whole bunch of people who are experts at things probably is also putting together a group of people with very big egos who don't want to probably cooperate or work together, because somebody who is really, really good at something tends to be a loner. Ultimate moral compass. Okay. So this is KIYOTAKA. According to what I saw about him on that thread, he went to a famous private school and won top honors every year. He's basically a flawless honors student. Which, yeah, being a flawless honors student would be like the ultimate student. Kind of the opposite of the character we're playing as, who is just a average character. Although, it'd be funny if there was a counter to him who was like the ultimate... he was the ultimate worst student that failed all the classes and never showed up. He's also known for the work he's done on the community's Public Morals Committee. Now, They say he respects rules above all else, earning him the title the ultimate moral compass. So he's all about following rules, which at a certain level, that probably doesn't work very well. Anyway, you can call me Taka. So they're going to shorten the names down to things. You said your name was Makoto, right? That's a good name, a strong name. You should thank your parents for giving you such an excellent name.
You hear me?
See, and that's a place where it very well could be something that's not being localized. Makoto might mean something. And certainly this guy, Taka, seems very intense. And to keep your name from losing its value, you must devote yourself every single day.
Got it.
A lot of different transitions between stationary animations with a little bit of flair between the transitions. Life is worth putting every ounce of effort into it, right? Right? This guy's kind of annoying. Alright, so good. We don't have a huge amount of conversations with each of us. Next we have...
That you'll remember my name anyway, but...
Here we have TOKO FUKAWA.
I'm Toko Fukawa.
Okay, so here's Toko. Seems to have a stammer and seems to be probably pretty shy. Ultimate writing prodigy. Yeah, she wrote a novel when she was 10 that got everyone talking and launched her literary career. I've seen in anime the idea of very young people becoming famous authors. I don't know if that has actually ever happened. Unlike the J-pop and the fashionistas, I'm not sure if there really has been any kind of prodigy. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was some book written that was ghostwritten by somebody older, and then they said that a child prodigy wrote it in Japan, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if that story did gain it a lot of attention, or if there really was a prodigy writer out there that probably would get books written. And frankly, in the United States, I personally feel like most novels and short stories that are popular are just downright garbage. So if somebody came out with a story that a prodigy had written, even a half decent book, it probably would catch people in the United States attention also. Then 2 years ago she released So Lingers the Ocean, a love story said to be her masterpiece. The book was such a hit with women that fishermen quickly shot to the top of every hottest men poll. Despite her age, she won countless library prizes, and all her books are instant bestsellers. So, I don't know if she's just a novel writer, or if she is kind of a romance novel writer, by the title of that. But there might be some localization issues here, which is why she became known as the ultimate writing prodigy. What else would you call such a young and talented author? And she does certainly match the stereotype you'd assume from somebody who is a writing prodigy, someone who's quiet and like not sociable. But I figured she'd be a lovey-dovey type with her masterpiece being a romance and all. And see, that might be localization too. And there's just no pause menu at all, so we can't even swap to Japanese for a second if we wanted to. ...
What's your problem?
Well, it's not the polite to stare, you know? See, here she's like turning red, so, and getting embarrassed, but I think that's not being really well localized to English here.
What the heck?
And then now she's mad. Stop staring at me like some filthy creature. Filthy creature? No, I just thought. I know what you just thought. You just thought you'd never seen such an ugly woman. You just thought it was so funny. No, that's not what I was thinking at all. Don't bother trying to lie to me. And here we're getting generic audio sound effects, which honestly I don't know how much space would have been on a PSP, but I imagine probably not enough to fully vocalize a game like this. Of course, you could have easily remastered it when they re-released it to have full voice acting, and I definitely would want to think, knowing that there's several games in the Danganronpa series, I'd want to think that hopefully the sequel is fully voice acted, because that makes it a lot easier. And those trees, otherwise, I know you can't stand looking at me.
Anyway.
Whatever, I don't really care. I'm used to it. Well, talk about an inferiority complex. I was way off about what a successful author would be like. Man, I'm gonna mispronounce the basic words more than anything. Right, so that's Toka.
Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Sayaka Mizono. I look forward to getting to know you.
Sayaka Mizono. She is the ultimate pop sensation. So she's one of the pop singers, but you can see her hair and dress is pretty simplistic compared to what she was wearing on stage. The way she moves is positively mesmerizing, and that pleasant scent I can't quite place. Sayaka Mizono. When I saw her name on the thread online, frankly I was pretty surprised. She's in a pop group famous all across the country. In fact, she's the lead singer. I think it's a mistake in localization also to not just say Japan. Like, it really, really wouldn't make sense if this was anywhere outside of an Asian country, and I don't think it's really worth it to potentially localize a game to English so you can sell it maybe to China or Korea and then intentionally not mention Japan, with I guess the one exception that both China and Korea doesn't really like Japan that much. So like for some good reasons, Japan at one point was pretty much in control of both Korea and China at different times. So maybe there is some reason for that, but we don't have quite the same issue in the West. And the idea of J-pops and K-pops, or I imagine there is a thing as a Chinese pop like C-pop groups too, seem believable, whereas we really don't have that in the United States or anywhere in the West. I'm a little surprised we haven't tried to copy that, but I guess it just hasn't worked. So where were we? In fact, she's the lead singer. As ultimate pop sensation, she's in high demand to appear on TV and in magazines everywhere, and now she's trapped in this school. But actually, that's not the only reason I was surprised to find out she'd be going to this school. I'm sure she doesn't remember, but well, never mind. No matter how you slice it, she's really beautiful, almost like a doll or something. Looking at the way her face is drawn and the long neck, it is a little bit anatomically stretched out, which I've seen worse, certainly in animation styles, but yeah, her head is very, very round and very, very big too. But at a certain level, if it's done consistently and it's done well, I can chalk it up to an artistic decision more than just a flaw in the ability of the animators and the drawers. I'm not a doll, you know, I'm alive. You were thinking that. Blue means you're thinking. Huh? Did you hear me? I'm psychic. Huh? Kidding. I just have really good intuition. She's a sharp one. Hey, huh? Hey, by any chance? Now what? Yeah, it must be, I'm sure of it. Hey Makoto,
Just hold on.
Geez, you guys, how long do you plan to waste our valuable time with this ridiculous back and forth? Sorry, I just got carried away, I guess.
You hear me?
Self-introductions are for introducing yourself, not bumbling through a bunch of idle chit-chat. You're right. So they're doing, like, first day at school self-introductions that is more stringent and like, programmed than just having general conversations. Sorry, Makoto. We can talk about this later. Sounded like Sayako really had something she wanted to say, but it's not like we'll never see each other again. Like she said, we can talk later. And what would happen if I was to talk to her a second time? We can... No, nothing different there. Speaking of anatomically correct, this guy is like, there's drawing people fat, and then there's drawing people skinny, which this guy's super skinny, and then there's drawing people as the human blob. We have Leon KIYOTAKA.
What's up?
KUWATA. So, is this the biker gang guy or the baseball guy? I guess it's a baseball game, but the baseball guy, but he doesn't really look like the baseball guy. Ultimate baseball star. Like, I really don't feel like a baseball star would be dressed that way. And look at those hands and the perspective there. His fingers and knuckles are like huge, as big as his head. I recognize that name. He played for the National High School Champs as their cleanup hitter, the ultimate baseball star. And seeing him there, he's clean shaven and he has short hair, and that's probably what would be standard or required in a baseball team. So maybe it's the off season and he's let himself go wild. And that superb athletic specimen is you? Seriously? Huh? What's wrong? Nothing. I'm just surprised. I figured you'd being the ultimate baseball star and all. What were you expecting? Some kid with a shaved head? Shaved head? No, I was just expecting more of a, sporty looking traditional baseball player type. I mean, when I found that article and picture of you online, that's how you looked then. What? Oh man, you found that picture of me playing baseball? Seriously? I hate that picture.
What the crap?
This is not cool. This is so not cool. Seriously. I'm like mega embarrassed right now. He has like way too many piercings for a high school student by far. I didn't have a choice, okay? Shaving your head like that is part of the national championship regulations.
I mean, seriously?
But now I refuse to cut my hair. And I'm not going to dye it back to normal either. See, this is something that probably needs some explanation, in that there are so few Japanese people that don't have naturally black hair, that even if someone is born and has a different hair color, the schools often will force them to dye their hair black just to look like the rest of the group and like conform, and to the point where they've, I think, tried to kick out students who couldn't or didn't dye their hair black, and some students have actually used hair dye to the point where it's hurt them, damaged their hair. So what he's ultimately saying here is, I'm not conforming, and his whole appearance definitely says that. I am not conforming to the strict Japanese social norms, or just an average human social norms.
Hey, listen.
Actually, can I be totally honest with you?
You know,
I don't like baseball, like at all. I've never gone to a single practice. He's never practiced, and he's still his team's star player. He's some kind of prodigy.
yeah.
They're all prodigy. And as soon as I got accepted here, I quit baseball for good. I have my own dream for the future. A dream for the future? My only path in life is getting into music. You can feel the star quality aura I have. right? So he wants to be a musician.
You know what I mean.
I'm gonna be a singer, so all I need is a songwriter and someone on guitar, and we're all set. So he just wants to form a band.
How cool is that?
This new version of me is chasing after my dream is like super cool to the max. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I never imagined I'd hear something like that from a baseball all-star. It's not, frankly, a terrible idea, because even if you get into the major leagues and play for a few years, odds are you don't get paid that much, or you blow the money and then you ruin your body in the process. Most major league sports all suffered horribly in the way they pay people too much at the beginning and not enough in a retirement or in a pension, where like major league sports, more than likely, ideally I'd like to see them give pensions to anyone who plays like even a few games. Like literally the first game, you probably should have a pension for the rest of your life that grows based on the number of games you played. With that pension should come lifetime health care also, because the risk of even that the practice before the first game of getting injured is just so incredibly high, and people who tend to be major league sports players tend to be so focused on that and practicing that they don't really get a good education, and often they're cheated and they're cheated by allowing them to cheat, or people cheating for them, so they think they get a good education when they really don't. And at a certain level, that is also an argument that colleges shouldn't have sports programs and athletics programs, because a college really isn't about helping people become professional athletes. There's just not enough jobs out there for that to make sense. The school's supposed to be, colleges in particular, supposed to be a lot of education. There's a difference between PE, physical education, and learning to be healthy, and pushing your body to an extreme that is unhealthy to be a professional athlete. But that's a side rant, and if I'm not careful, I'll go on side rants for everything. So we don't really talk back to him on that and comment back.
I am Hifumi Yamada. But if you want to call me by my nickname,
The Alpha and the Omega.
I don't mind.
So Yamada is a class of battleship in the Japanese Navy, so it's a really big ship. So there's probably a pun in his name, which probably indicates that there's a pun in most of the characters' name. He is the ultimate fanfic creator, although I think maybe he's more of a pervert than that might indicate. That again, that might be a localization mistake, because I think from what I've heard, he's an ultimate arrow manga creator, which would be lewd adult mangas, not just fanfics. Although in all fairness, even Western fanfics, you're running 60-70% or higher of them are lewd adult content. So, yeah. By the way, how much do you know about the world of 2D art? World of 2D. Of course, all of this is 2D. Also, there is a certain obsession of certain hyper fans called otaku in Japan, who are obsessed with 2D and are completely uninterested in 3D, as in the real world. Well, in that world, I am well known and supremely well regarded as the ultimate fanfic creator. And here they're drawing him like a mole more than a human, with a spike on his head. Yeah. I once sold 10,000 copies of one of my fan comics at a school festival. The event has passed into legend. 10,000 copies for what would have been a dojin, which is dojin means unauthorized, like fan creation. It's a lot. It's a lot. There is a thriving industry in Japan to make unauthorized fan comics of either a adult nature or not, and they tend not to get sued, even though it would technically be copyright infringement, because it's just not worth hunting down somebody who's selling less than 1,000 copies of their comic, and it's hardly really competing with official material. It does certainly go to a point, though, that one of the reasons why I feel like there aren't as many good animators in the United States and in the West is because there isn't enough of a thriving manga animation focus or industry. I feel like the Japanese in particular, if you have any inclination to draw, you're probably drawing like way more, probably 100 times more often than any animator in the West. And we've started to see that really come into this level where even the most professional hired animators that are doing things for like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network are animating things at a style that is not good looking, in my opinion, at all. Multiple different styles that all just look very, very bad. And then even if you can get past the style, the amount and quality of the animation is just horrifically bad. Even if you're thinking of like The Simpsons or Family Guy or Rick and Morty, all of those animations have to be shipped to Eastern countries to be animated because it's just, there's just nobody in the West to do it. Moving on. Some of them didn't get it, of course, saying I tainted the event. How stupid can you be? It's too bad about them. That's too bad about them, but selling 10,000 copies like that is definitely pretty remarkable.
However,
The words of such idiots mean nothing to me. I am like Van Gogh, utterly unappreciated in my time. I am a soldier serving night and day to destroy all mindless preconceptions about fan fiction. I'm sure if you were to observe my work, Mr. Naegi, you would comprehend its greatness immediately. For my work is filled with deepest meaning. What kind of meaning? What kind of meaning?
yes indeed.
It's about embracing our basest urges. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. That at a certain level is what this whole story is about. Man, that hairdo is wild though. I don't think I want to comprehend it. Okay, now to talk to those 5 people over there. Alright, so instead of rotating the camera in any way, we have instead just moved 5 new people in. And remember, there's 15 people, so we're going to end up talking to 14, assuming they were counting me. So let's just keep hurrying through this. Wow, it may take us an hour to go through all this.
I'm ASAHINA, but my friends just call me Hina. Sup?
So, yeah. She's getting the nickname Hina, Aoi. Let's see. And she's... Now, you can't pan up and down when you're zoomed in like this. She's just in a regular outfit, but not a school outfit. Decent amount of cleavage there, particularly when you think about this as a high school. That's a generous, generous amount of cleavage there. But we'll move forward from that. She's the ultimate swimming pro, so that's probably a swimming outfit. Aoi Asahina, she's been breaking records in every competition since she's been in every competition she's been in since elementary school. She's even been chosen as an upcoming Olympic cadet. She is without a doubt the ultimate swimming pro. The combination of her ability, appearance, and proportions have been wildly discussed online. Yeah. Those proportions, not typically what you see in a swimmer's body. And the long hair, also not typical in a swimmer either. But, yeah. So, what was your name again? Sorry, totally forgot. Makoto Naegi. Oh yeah, I knew it was something like that. No, not something like that. It is that.
You got it.
Sure, got it. Here, I'll hammer it into my brain right now.
Yeah.
Makoto Naegi. She just kept repeating my name and moving her fingers across her palm like she was writing something. What are you doing?
Huh?
You don't know? If you want to remember someone's name, you gotta write it on your hands 3 times. That's clearly some kind of Japanese thing that would be very hard to localize. So, but there's kind of no reason to localize it either. I've never heard of that before in my life. Hey, by the way, how do you spell your last name? You spell it exactly like it sounds. All right, that's not helpful to any English speakers. Well, I have no idea, huh? I'll just figure it out later and write it down.
Okay.
Anyway, glad to meet you. This is probably a point too where I've seen in other visual novels they've tried to localize different ways of speaking in English and done a pretty poor job of it, because there's quite a few different dialects that are very easy to recognize to a Japanese person. So they often will have someone sound like a country bumpkin by having a specific dialect in Japanese, and then when they go to try and localize that, they sometimes will just change the word spoken instead of potentially having a voice actor try and sound like a country bumpkin. I imagine that's what they're trying to do here, is say that she is more of a country bumpkin than a lot of the other characters. And I imagine a lot of the other characters in Japanese would have several different dialects also that might inform some small subtle bit of information about the characters. Sure, same here. Well, one thing I learned is she's totally easygoing and bursting with energy. Moving on.
Hello. Nice to meet you. I'm CHIHIRO Fujisaki.
CHIHIRO Fujisaki. She's the ultimate programmer. Sorry, I get kind of embarrassed whenever I introduce myself like this. Anyway, I hope we can get along. Same here. Nice to meet you. Huh? Maybe it's just my imagination, but have we met before? I don't think so. We just met for the first time, which is why I said nice to meet you.
I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah, good point. Sorry. You don't have to apologize for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. CHIHIRO Fujisaki is known for all cutting-edge programs she's created. She's the ultimate programmer, which, as someone who has a programming education, I don't know how you could really call too many people the ultimate programmer, because, like, I know famous people, certainly. I've heard of famous people who program in assembly code, which would probably be the closest people to be called an ultimate programmer. But there's so many different languages and so many different things to learn and potentially program for whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's such a wide tent. I don't think you can have an ultimate programmer. If you did, they would be so... They would have to have photographic memory. They would have to have studied in detail every single programming language that ever existed. They would have to have a deep understanding for every single piece of equipment that the programs are going to run on. It's really just asking too much. Whereas it is much more reasonable for somebody, in my mind, to be the ultimate swimmer or the ultimate baseball player, because that is one specific thing. But of course, then they probably wouldn't want to get bogged down in the weeds and call her the ultimate assembly programmer or the ultimate C++ programmer. She's also got a timid little bunny type thing going on, which has endeared her to a legion of fans. She's crying. Hey, so listen.
I'm sorry.
I'm really sorry. Huh? What are you apologizing for now? Well, just 'cause you seem upset. You must be mad at me, right? No, not at all. I was just lost in thought about something.
Huh?
Lost in thought? Yeah, it had nothing to do with me being upset or anything.
Thank you.
Oh, thank good. That's good. I was afraid maybe you didn't like me. There's a lot of swings here as far as emotions being depicted by the stationary close-ups of the characters. And I don't know what you can really do about that, frankly, in a visual novel. Either you go one way and you waste a lot of budget animating very subtle, stationary, unemotional close-ups, or you just let the game go wild, and anytime you want a character to do a close-up emotion or just change emotions, you pick from a selection of very extreme emotions, which that's kind of weird too. Like, at the current moment, I would imagine everybody would be mostly calm, but also a little confused and upset and scared. So you would expect, if these were just regular actors, you'd have all of the actors trying to portray those emotions, not swinging from crying to embarrassed to happy. I'm glad. So yeah, like something like that would probably have been the only close-up I would have used in this introduction. ... I'm starting to understand why our fans are so into her. Moving on. Here we have Kyoko Kirigiri. ... Can I ask you your name?
My name is Kyoko Kirigiri.
She's the ultimate question mark. She's pretty tight-lipped, huh? Oh, but you know, her name didn't show up anywhere in the Hope's Peak Academy thread. And I didn't see that there were students like, and I did see that there were students like me, ones who didn't have any real identity or presence. Could this girl be one of them? So, what are you doing at this school?
What?
What's that supposed to mean? No, I just meant getting invited here means you're some kind of ultimate something. So, what ultimate something are you? Pink hair with basically pink eyes and different shades of lavender and pink clothing. ...
That doesn't matter.
Why should I tell you? See, now that's always weird in visual novels. If she says something different, like that doesn't matter. Why should I tell you? These voice files are gonna get replayed more often than you would think later on. Huh? Well, I guess you don't have to tell me. No, I don't have to tell you, so I'm not going to. Nothing about her turned up online, so I was thinking maybe she got picked by chance like me, but... ... Her face is like an iron mask. If she doesn't want to tell me anything, no point in asking. So she's a big mystery. And like, if we were to go back to her, it's still the same thing. Moving on.
Hi, I'm Junko Enoshima. Charmed, I'm sure.
So, next we have Junko Enoshima, who is the ultimate fashionista. And you can definitely tell that from her outfit. Well, what's funny is they do have kind of just stationary images of the characters, because they use them when they show the flash there. So they probably should have used those stationary images a little bit more. anybody would recognize her. She's got more charm and presence than any high school girl in the country. She's the ultimate fashionista. I come back to this image. I've seen her on tons of magazine covers, but I feel like that doesn't quite match up to reality.
What?
Yeah. Huh?
Come on.
Oh, are you talking about my covers and junk? Well, of course. Those are totally photoshopped. Photoshopped? Yeah, you know, edited to hell and back with like computers and junk. Yeah, you can kind of tell that from even these images. So they aren't real?
What can we do?
Come on, don't act so surprised. You're gonna make me all depressed. I don't think she particularly looks that different from the photoshopped images.
Totally.
It's totally normal these days to Photoshop the crap out of cover photos. It's true, certainly. If you're surprised by that, you'd be totally blown away by certain dangerous little divas of ours. By a certain little dangerous diva of ours. They make the eyes and junk big, super big, and tweak the skin so it's all ceramic and porcelain. See, that's probably a localization issue in English too, where it probably says they make the eyes and the boobs big. Oh, so my dreams are getting crushed today. So many dreams are getting crushed today. Yeah, still having... Maybe after playing a dozen or more visual novels, I might be a better reader. I can read the words fine. It's the connection between reading them in my head and connecting that back to my mouth that's the problem.
Name's Mondo Iwata. Nice to fucking meet you.
That's a odd cuss word because we're nearly 2 hours into the game, and I guess we'll see an occasional cuss word, but probably not that much, really. Yeah, this is more than likely going to be a game that tries to push and feel like it's a rated M for mature, but in reality it's probably closer to teen plus, 16, 17-year-old audience. This is the ultimate biker gang guy, which at a certain level I don't know what the difference between being the ultimate biker gang guy is and being the ultimate Yakuza gangster character. They're also setting themselves up in a weird way, because if they're doing like 15 ultimate people in the first game, it's going to be a fair struggle to find 15 different ultimate people of ultimate styles for the second game, unless the second game just follows the characters from the first game, which that might very well be the case. That hairstyle is ridiculous. Why in the world would you want a peak of hair in between your eyes? Mondo Iwata, which means he's the current leader of the largest biker gang in Japan. I think it's Crazy Diamond is the flags they're flying. He's earned respect, even all, from every gang in the country. He's the ultimate biker gang leader. We already been told that. We're getting some comic book style effects here. I guess there is a great argument to say for the thousands and thousands of visual novels on Steam available in the West, why are there exactly 0 DC and Marvel comic book visual novels? Like, you might as well go in that direction and make a few more bucks. There was another thing that I was thinking about. Let me see if I can remember what it was. Nice to meet you too.
Yo.
Hey, Yeah. So when he turns his hair, you can see it's not just hanging down his face. It's actually just this sticking far ahead in the front. Hey, yeah. I better be careful around him. One wrong ward, and I could wake up at the bottom of the sea. Those 4 over there are the only ones left. So, yeah. Literally, it's going to take an hour to go through this. One of the things that annoys me is I mentioned in the last recording, the reason I'm playing this is because Game Grumps is playing it and I want to get to the ending before them. But one thing that definitely annoys me is that they, in some episodes, definitely just get really silly with it and are trying to do improv comedy around the game, which is not too different from me going off on tangents like the one I'm on right now, but it is somewhat distracting and annoying if you're trying to actually focus on the game, or at least somewhat focus on the game. These 4 over there are the only ones left. There's still, I imagine, nothing. It's weird that you need the right stick and you can't just move the left stick to the edge and it just crawl up and down. Like, that for the PS Vita in particular, it would have made a whole lot of sense for it to just, you get over here and then it just scrolls. Let's see. Yeah, I can't remember what I was gonna say. So let's just move forward.
Sakura Ogami.
So clearly this is supposed to be somewhat of a joke here. This scarred up, super muscly girl in a schoolgirl outfit with white hair, super long. She is the ultimate martial artist. Oh geez, I almost asked her if she was a guy. The day I saw something like that, I say something out like that out loud, it is the day I get turned into a human meatball. But now I remember she competed in martial arts tournaments in America and won, despite being a girl. So now they have established that this is in Japan, or at least not in America. She's the ultimate martial artist. She's fought in over 400 matches and never lost a single one. The thread also said a bit more about her. Some call her ogre. Some even think she's the closest known relative to the primates, the famed missing link. Any incoming Hope's Peak students who are reading this, let me warn you right now. If you value your life, avoid her at all costs. Standing in front of her now, I don't think they were exaggerating about that. Hey you. Huh? Yes? I snapped her attention without even realizing it. Then she started to poke and prod at my body. What are you?
I see.
Muscular quality in quantity is right around that of an extremely ordinary high school student. What a shame. You're not at all fit to act as my training partner. I'm not sure that's such a shame for me. So yeah, she wants to train and exercise. It's just, look at those thighs. There's certainly an example of overdoing it in a sport for sure. Although of course this is also just ridiculous, extreme animation of characters. What age are we gonna say these are? Let's just go ahead and assume all these characters are 18 years old, too, just for convenience sake. If they're all in the same school year and they're all attending high school, best case scenario they're 18. Worst case scenario they're 16. So move forward.
Byakuya Togami.
Byakuya Togami. 3 times. He's the ultimate affluent progeny. As in, he's the ultimate rich kid. Affluent prodigy. Oh, progeny. Rich kid. Hi, nice to meet you. That's the most half-assed introduction I've ever heard. But there isn't really anything I can do about it. Even among the ultimate students, this one is special. Byakuya Togami, he's an heir apparent to his family's massive financial conglomerate. He's also started managing business operations, and his own personal assets are well vast. His title, the ultimate affluent progeny, is completely accurate. He's the definition of exceptional. This is really some grade A BS in my book, to be considered exceptional or ultimate anything just because your parents are rich is a major ridiculous problem of way of thinking. And certainly it gets back to the idea of, yeah, Hope's Peak Academy, if it's going to combine all the ultimate students, it is probably going to take students with real prodigy skills and real talent, and then force them to be just the figurehead and the breadwinners for a whole secondary class of students that would be held even higher, which are just rich kids. Yeah. That's everything I'd learned about him from that Hope's Peak Academy thread online.
Come on.
There's probably a much better way to have done all these introductions instead of just referring back to research you had done before. Frankly, the easiest way to do this would have been simply to have each person actually introduce themselves and not flashback to and not have the main character have done any research anyways. It's not like we're getting told any information that we really wouldn't have been told by the characters directly anyways. So yeah, often in visual novels it seems like they are trying much too hard to jump between different scenes to make it feel like you're not just reading a book with stationary images in the background, but I don't feel like I really get tricked by that too much. We're done with the introductions, right? How much longer are you going to stand there? Go away, I'm sick of looking at you. Azora says to me, you and I will never stand on the same level like a king in training. So he comes off as a jerk. Moving on.
I'm Yasuhiro Hagakure. Hero for short. Take it easy, yeah? I know I will.
Yep. Yasuhiro Hagakure. Hero for short. He's got like big old dreadlocks, which suppose you could be half Japanese and have something else and have long brown hair with dreadlocks, but again, it's just a way of changing the depiction of people so they stand out. Although it really has gotten to an extreme insane level at this point. It's like these characters don't have to compete against anybody else. We're only going to see these 15 characters, maybe 2 other characters in total, in flashbacks and things like that. So him having this wild hair is not necessary. On the other hand, I've seen a lot of asset flip games on Steam, and if you want your game to not look like an asset flip game, the best way to do that is to have custom unique animation for each of the characters. And so, and by asset flip I mean somebody went and bought a base model of a character or an item or a whole bunch of those and then just sold it on Steam like it was a real game when there wasn't any polish or care or love put in the development of it. Thus, they just bought an asset and then they flipped it on the Steam storefront. Let's see, he's the ultimate clairvoyant. So you'd think somebody who's a clairvoyant would have potentially not gotten trapped inside the school. Yaso Hagakure, known as Supernova in the psychic community, the trend-setting ultimate clairvoyant. I guess the idea here is that clairvoyants are not really clairvoyant, and thus he didn't see it coming. Honestly, I don't really get all that fortune-telling stuff. It's pretty much beyond me. Still, I can't help wondering if there's any truth to it.
Could it be?
Okay, I give up. Huh? What happened?
Serious?
I saw it. I looked right at it. Seriously. I totally saw it. Saw what? A guardian angel with a crazy perm chasing after Bigfoot running off with a skyfish in its mouth. What gibberish. Again, this might make more sense in Japanese, but in English that's just gibberish. And that guardian angel is your guardian angel. Nah, I'm just kidding. But hey, we should grab some brewskis sometime and get real deep in Lemuria. I don't know what Lemuria is, and its civilization. And brewskis, drinking alcohol. In Japan, there's nothing stopping kids from drinking alcohol. It's sold in vending machines if they wanted to, other than just they are expected not to, and they follow expectations, or nearly all of them do to the letter. You can also drink alcohol in public. So yeah, nothing would really stop them from drinking brewskis, but the school would probably expel them if they got caught doing it. But also that probably would have been translated from something like let's share some sake, which drinking sake with coworkers and friends, it means a little bit different in my mind than drinking brewskis with friends, but it's about the same. What? We're not allowed to drink. We're in high school.
You know?
Oh, I'm actually 21. I've been held back a few times, see, and well, it's a long story. So he's not even a good student. Few times. I bet that is a long story. Alright, one more.
I do not think we have been introduced. I am Celestia Ludenberg.
And see, her name is just labeled as Celeste at the top left there. She is the ultimate gambler. Celestia Luden, huh? Ludenberg, that it is my name. But if you don't mind, I would prefer you call me Celeste. You are Japanese, right? So now we know for sure that this is a Japanese game and Japanese people.
Huh?
Of course, why do you ask? If you don't mind, could you tell me your real name? I don't know what you're talking about. Celestia Ludenberg is my real name. But as I mentioned it, I would much rather you call me Celeste. So yeah, that's not her real name, obviously. She's polite but pretty forceful at the same time. I don't think she wants to say more about it. There's probably a decent amount of stuff here if you were playing this game a second time where you might see things or pick up things being said that might inform events much later in the story. But honestly, for any visual novel, the idea of playing it twice in a row or twice ever is asking way too much for me. that is part of the problem with like branching path games and visual novels in particular, is that if there is a branching path, I probably am only willing to accept my fate on whatever single path I end up on, and not try and rewind or play the game multiple times. And compared to the nonary games, the nonary games do have a time rewind branching path mechanism, which makes it fairly easy to jump back and skip things. It also has a text skip function. So far, we've not seen anything that says we could even auto progress the dialogue, let alone skip it. It does bring about an interesting question, certainly, though, as to how would you remake a game like this, and would it really be worth the effort to like not just remaster but remake it? I've seen some games try to turn it from like 2D to 3D. I think that would be a mistake. I think changing much of the art other than just upscaling it and polishing it would be a mistake, but you could easily bring in full vocalization and have every line of dialogue spoken. You could easily have auto move forward, auto progression on the dialogue, since it would be all spoken. And you probably could map out a path of where you should go and what you should do in a lot of scenarios too, instead of having to individually choose who you're going to talk to. At a certain point, you're approaching something close to what Telltale games did, and those were probably the few improvements that they did figure out in Telltale games, was to try and keep the story constantly going forward and try and make it much more of a normal experience instead of all the reading that's going on for most visual novels like this. I guess the rumors in that thread were right about her. The self-styled Celestia Ludenberg. She's the ultimate gambler who's never lost a bet. Apparently they don't know her name in the forum either. Other than her obvious love of gothic Lolita clothes, everything about her is wrapped in a veil of lies. They say she entered an underground gambling tournament, earning the title Queen of Liars. She totally cleaned out the other players, taking their life savings and laughing as she did it. So, it's probably important to mention what Gothic Lolita means. It's kind of this fashion art style that has been around for a while in Japanese fashion. It is kind of a mix between like Renaissance era high fashion dresses, which arguably I would say her outfit, as you can see it right now, barely even would fall too much in the Gothic Lolita style. It's kind of going in its own direction. But yeah, Renaissance era, high fashion, lacy clothing that is almost all black with maybe a little bit of trim of white. I would say her clothes are purplish, and so is her hair. And then the Lolita part of it, actually, I don't think really plays too much of a role, other than there have, in early instances, been a lot of them where the characters are younger and smaller, but in the actual fashion it doesn't really play much role, other than I would say some of the clothing looks more kind of like negligees and like fancy lacy more adult sexual clothing for the age of the people wearing them, so maybe that would play a little bit. It also has a bit of a mix of the European made fashion style too, so you can see she does kind of have a made hairdo, a made headpiece on her head. But yeah. They often have lacy umbrellas too. But yeah. It's definitely something you can pick out, but when you've seen it a few times, but its origins I think more come from just a weird fetish that was created more than anything. There is a type of negligee called baby doll negligees, I believe, and so maybe that's where the Lolita got added to it too. In the actual Lolita book though, I don't think you particularly had the character Lolita actually dressing in any fancy way or even provocative way, and it was a unreliable narrator even in that case of the bad guy in the story describing how Lolita looked, acted, and dressed. Moving on, I look forward to getting to know you better. But that smile is beyond deceptive. I'd better watch myself around her. There's no reason at the moment for us to really watch ourselves around anyone. We don't even know what's going on. And with that, all the introductions are done, and that took 2 hours to get to this point. Even though they're all ultimate, they each have their own individual sort of something. Okay, it's time to get down to business. There's no time to stand around making friends like a bunch of dull-eyed baboons. This is no time. Oh, that's true. I think someone said something about a bigger problem or something. What was that about?
Listen.
Well, you see... I'm gonna not particularly mention who's talking going forward as we start to move further and further into the actual game. Although, in fairness, like most visual novels, this is gonna be half of the game or more. Makoto, you said a bunch of stuff happened and then you were just asleep, right? Well, the same is true for all of us. What? Seriously?
I mean, seriously?
Just after each of us got to the main hall, we lost consciousness, and when we came to, we were somewhere here in the school, and that's what happened to you, right? So each one of them were somewhere spread apart in the school, I would assume. But that's just weird that everyone would get knocked out like that.
Piece of shit!
Really? Man, he's gonna cuss every time, isn't he? Exactly, that's why we're all freaking out. They didn't feel like they were freaking out. That's not the only thing. You saw all the windows in the classes and hallways were. You saw where all the windows in the classes and hallways were, right? But instead of normal glass windows, it's a bunch of big metal plates. What's that about?
Are you for real?
Plus, all my stuff's missing, even my cell phone. Okay, well that easily solves the cell phone problem that often becomes an issue these days when telling a story. Yeah, you're right. I haven't seen my PDA anywhere. Nobody uses a PDA these days. Even in 2010, using a PDA would have been ridiculous. So maybe in 2010 they were implying that cell phones were just flip phones that weren't also smartphones. I have a hard time believing that, but okay. Maybe 2010 would have been a little early for a smartphone or everybody to have smartphones. And then there's the main hall here. The front exit is completely blocked by some giant metal hatch.
What does this mean?
But there wasn't anything like that when I first got here.
What the heck?
What the heck? What's it doing there?
Aww.
Maybe we got caught up in some kind of crime or something. Well, I would probably agree with that.
Is it like...
What, like a kidnapping? You think maybe somebody grabbed us and hauled us off and we're not actually at school?
Hey, come on.
Come on, don't think like that. Cheer up. That is an interesting idea. I bet this is all just part of the school's orientation procedure. That would be weird.
You know?
Yeah, I'm sure that's it. It's just gonna take... So I'm just gonna take it easy for a little bit.
I see.
So you think they wanted to do something to surprise us? Well, I guess that could be the case.
What the hell?
Well, if that's all it is, it's nap time for me.
You know what I mean.
I was up way too late last night, so I could use a little shut-eye. I could feel everyone's tension evaporating, but then it began. Ding dong, bing bong. Although that's not the music that actually was played. Well, I wouldn't describe that music as a ding dong, bing bong. It feels like that would be poorly translated, but I don't know how you translate ding dongs, ding dongs.
Of the school broadcast system. Am I on? Can everyone hear me? Okay, well then.
Voice seemed totally out of place. It was so playful, so completely unconcerned. I couldn't help but feel a deep, unnerving dread at the sound of it. It was like hearing someone laugh at the scene of an accident.
To all incoming students, I would like to begin the entrance ceremony at right now.
So, like, here would have been probably a very good point to start the game instead of 2 hours ago. Have this character start the whole events and then have the characters talk to each other and get to know each other later.
Please make your way to the gymnasium at your earliest convenience. That's all. I'll be waiting.
So, you can tell it's the Monokuma bear from the trailer with the bear ears, or at least you'd assume that that's it. Dot dot dot. What the hell was that just now?
Goodbye.
Well then, if you'll excuse me. Wait, you're just gonna take off just like that?
Could it be?
Oh yeah, now I get it. The whole thing is just to get us pumped for the entrance ceremony. Man, thank God it was all a joke. I'd be totally freaked out if this was real.
You know?
Alright, guess I'll head out too. Wonder what they've got planned for us next. Damn, I was totally looking forward to that nap too. Why'd they have to go and kill the mood?
Huh?
Wait for me. I want to go with you. Oh, that is that. Then I will see you all there.
Anyway.
Not that anyone cares, but I'm gonna go too. Everyone took off to the gym, but I was frozen where I stood. That uneasy feeling I'd had before. I couldn't get it out of my mind. And it looked like I wasn't the only one. This doesn't seem right.
This is bad.
Yeah, the announcement was totally weird.
However.
Maybe. But just staying put doesn't mean we'll be safe. Besides, aren't you guys just a little bit curious to find out what's going on around here?
I see.
If we do not move forward, we learn nothing. The only choice is to push ahead. I guess she's right. But still, I'm kind of, really nervous. We don't have a choice. We have to go. A lot of this dialogue is kind of unnecessary. They said to go to the gym, right? Alright. And so, yeah, 2 hours to get to that point. And that's where I guess we will leave everything. Let's see. Alright, so back at some point does open a transcript if we ever need that. And apparently we'll probably get some more abilities as we go forward. Yep. The good news is I do know eventually this speeds up, and I do know eventually I can at least hopefully figure out ways to speed up the story. Also, since I know what has happened, I'm gonna, of course, be careful not to try and spoil anything. But also, it does point out that I can mostly run through some of the story at the beginning here, anyways. But for now, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.